what's good? It's Kanelogic, and today we're talking about Crimson Desert, the game that looks like it was built in a lab specifically to trigger our hyperceptors. Because every time you see new gameplay, it's like, wait, this is actually real? Open world, insane combat, movie-level visuals, giant bosses, dragons you can ride, a world that's reportedly bigger than both Skyrim and Red Dead Redemption 2. And I'm sitting here watching this footage thinking, all right, either this is about to be one of the greatest games ever made, or it's about to be one of the most spectacular disappointments in recent memory. Because here's the thing, games that look this ambitious can go two ways. Either it drops and absolutely shocks everybody in the best way possible, or it drops and everybody's like, yeah, we should have seen this coming. The hype is through the roof right now. The game just hit 2 million wish lists. People are going crazy for this. But there are real concerns brewing underneath all that excitement. So today, we're breaking down the actual history of how this game even happened, the gameplay systems, the story we know so far, what this open world is supposed to feel like, the graphics and engine tech that's making it look this insane, and most importantly, the real performance concerns, especially on console and PC. And then I'll give you my honest take on what you should realistically expect and what you should consider before you drop $70 on this day one. Let's get into it. All right, so Crimson Desert is made by Pearl Abyss, the studio behind Black Desert Online. And that context matters because when this game was first announced back in 2019, the vibe around it was basically, wait, is this just Black Desert 2? Not officially, but that's absolutely how the community was treating it. Same studio, same ambition, early messaging felt connected, and people naturally assumed it was going to be another MMO. But over the course of development, which has been long by the way, Pearl Abyss shifted the focus pretty dramatically. Instead of an MMO-style live forever with always online requirements and all that, they pivoted Crimson Desert into a premium, single-player, story-driven, open-world action-adventure game. Completely different vision. And the development has been, let's just say, eventful. The game was originally supposed to come out in 2024. That didn't happen. Then it got pushed to late 2025. That also didn't happen. And now we finally have a locked release date. March 19th, 2026. Pre-orders are live right now. The game has officially gone gold, which means the main build is done and they're in the final optimization phase before launch. It's confirmed for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PC via Steam and Epic Game Store, and it's even getting a native macOS version. So yeah, they're treating this like a massive, mainstream, multi-platform AAA launch. This isn't some niche project anymore. This is Pearl Abyss swinging for the fences. The game takes place on a fantasy continent called Pywel. The main character is Cliff McDuff, and he's tied to a mercenary group called the Greymanes. Now here's where the story kicks off. The Greymanes get absolutely destroyed by their rivals, a faction called the Black Bears, in a devastating ambush. Many of the Greymanes are killed. The survivors, including Cliff, are scattered across the continent. So the core story is about Cliff's journey to reunite with his surviving comrades, rebuild what was lost, and eventually confront the leader of the Black Bears, a guy named Myrden. The tone looks high fantasy, but gritty. This is not a clean, colorful fairy tale world. It's more like hard times, brutal choices, people surviving in a world that's actively trying to kill them. Pearl Abyss has been talking about how your choices can affect the story and even parts of the world state. Factions reacting to you differently, territories changing hands, that sort of thing. That sounds great on paper, but I'm going to keep it real with you. Choice-based story depth is one of the hardest things to execute in a massive open world. Games promise this all the time, and then when you actually play it, the choices are surface level at best. So don't go in expecting Witcher 3 or Baldur's Gate 3 levels of narrative branching until we actually see it proven in the wild. Right now, the story looks promising. The setup is solid, the characters seem interesting, but it's still very much a wait-and-see situation. Let's talk gameplay, because this is where most of the hype is coming from. Combat looks fast, heavy, and incredibly cinematic. Big impact hits, grapples, launches, environmental destruction. You can grab enemies and throw them into walls. You can parry attacks and counter. You can use spells, bows, swords, spears. There's even Taekwondo-style kicks that were motion captured from actual martial artists.
Pearl Abyss has said they took inspiration from old-school arcade fighting games like Samurai Showdown, Final Fight, and King of Fighters, not modern Souls-likes. So the combat system is built around multi-button combinations, linked attacks, and mastering movesets over time. It's supposed to be more technical than your average action game. And in the footage we've seen, it looks absolutely wild. Here's the flip side to all that flash. Combat can become visually messy. When you have particle effects flying everywhere, big camera movements, large crowds of enemies, physics objects breaking apart and explosions going off, sometimes the fight stops being about skill and starts being about survive the visual chaos and hope you can see what's happening. That's a real concern with games that go this hard on spectacle. So one of the main questions I have is, once you're 20 hours deep into this game, fighting multiple enemies at once in a chaotic environment, does the combat stay readable and fair, or does it turn into a particle soup where you're just mashing buttons and hoping for the best? We won't know until people actually get their hands on the full game. Crimson Desert is trying to do a lot. Open-world exploration, main story quests, massive boss fights, side activities like cooking, fishing, hunting, arm wrestling, sheep wrangling, and horse taming. There's a camp system similar to Red Dead Redemption 2 where you can develop your base over time. There's a crime system where if you harm civilians, guards and townspeople will react, and you might have to fight your way out of cities, pay fines, or even serve prison time. There's environmental puzzles, climbing and parkour mechanics, horseback combat, dragon riding, even a mechanical mech with jet propulsion for traversal. That's a lot of systems. And here's the thing, that can be amazing if it's all polished and cohesive, or it can feel like a game with 10 different identities where none of them are fully realized. So the big question isn't, does it have content? The question is, does it all feel like it belongs in the same game, or does it feel like a bunch of features duct-taped together? Pywel is being marketed as a vast, seamless open world with serious variety. Mountains, forests, towns, battlefields, wilderness areas, monster zones. And they're not shy about the scale. Pearl Abyss recently confirmed that Pywel is larger than both Skyrim and Red Dead Redemption 2. That's not a small claim. The world is supposed to be completely seamless with little to no loading screens. You can ride your horse from one end of the map to the other, climb mountains, fly on dragons, and the world just keeps going.
In theory, the world is supposed to feel alive with faction conflicts, roaming threats, random boss encounters, and tons of stuff to do beyond just combat. But here's where the open-world bloat concern creeps in. A big map doesn't automatically mean a good map. If the world is filled with repetitive bandit camps, copy-paste tasks, and go here, kill 10 enemies, bring back 3 items loops, the magic wears off real fast. We've all played open-world games that are massive but empty, or massive but repetitive. So Pywel needs to be dense and meaningful, not just huge for the sake of being huge. The activities need to matter. The exploration needs to feel rewarding. If they nail that, this could be incredible. If they don't, it's going to feel like a beautiful but hollow world. Crimson Desert is built on Pearl Abyss's custom engine called Blackspace. This is not Unreal Engine. This is their own proprietary tech that they developed specifically for this game. And visually, it's one of the best-looking fantasy games we've seen. The lighting is gorgeous, the detail is absurd, the scale is massive, draw distances go on forever. Pearl Abyss has confirmed that on high-end PCs, the engine is capable of native 4K at 60 FPS with ray tracing enabled. No upscaling, no DLSS or FSR tricks required, although those technologies are supported if you want to push the frame rate even higher. The engine also supports real-time physics calculations and environmental destruction, meaning things like collapsing towers react dynamically based on where you hit them. That's impressive tech. But here's the reality check. Every time you see graphics this heavy, you should immediately ask yourself, what is this going to cost in terms of performance? Because visuals at this level can create serious issues. Inconsistent frame pacing, stutters, dips during big battles, dips in busy towns, streaming hitches when you're moving fast through the world. And that leads us to the biggest concern.
Here's the situation. As of right now, we still don't have final confirmed performance targets for consoles. No official word on whether it's targeting 60 FPS, 30 FPS, what resolutions we're looking at, or what graphics modes will be available at launch. And when a company stays quiet on performance targets this close to release, it usually means they're still figuring out what they can actually guarantee. Now, Pearl Abyss has a pretty good track record. Black Desert Online ran at 120 FPS on Xbox One, which is a last-gen console, so they clearly know how to optimize their games. And Will Powers, their PR director, has said that their internal performance expectations are extremely high, higher than what the community is even expecting. But until we see it running on actual hardware in people's homes, we're in wait-and-see mode. Base PS5 and Xbox Series X. I think these will be fine, but don't expect perfection out of the gate. A realistic expectation is probably a performance mode that aims for 60 FPS with visual compromises, a quality mode that aims for better visuals at 30 FPS. And even then, the question is, are those frame rates stable, or do they dip hard during intense scenes? PS5 Pro support is officially confirmed, and they've mentioned you'll have options to disable the excessive particle effects if they're causing performance issues. So if you're on Pro, you'll probably get the best console experience. Here's where it gets tricky. Series S is always the wild card when it comes to ambitious open-world games.
If any platform is likely to get the most aggressive compromises, lower resolution, reduced effects, lower crowd density, possibly more 30 FPS focused modes, it's Series S. So if you're playing on Series S, just be mentally prepared for a scaled-back experience compared to the other platforms. It'll run, but it might not be pretty. On PC, we do have official system requirements now. But here's the thing. Requirements don't equal guaranteed performance at specific settings. Minimum specs: CPU, Ryzen 5 2600X, Intel Core i5-8500, GPU, GTX 1060 3GB, RX 6500 XT, RAM, 16 GB, storage, 100 to 135 GB with an SSD required, DirectX 12, additional TPM 2.0, secure boot, and a mobile phone number must be linked to your account. Recommended specs: CPU, Ryzen 5 5600, Intel Core i5-11600K, GPU, RTX 2080, RX 6700 XT, RAM, 16 GB, storage, SSD required. Now let's talk about a few things here. First, that phone number requirement and TPM 2.0 secure boot stuff, that's unusual for a single-player game. Most people are assuming it's some kind of anti-cheat or anti-piracy measure, but it's raising eyebrows in the PC community. Just know that going in. Second, don't assume recommended means 4K Ultra at 60 FPS. It probably means 1080p or 1440p at high settings with decent frame rates, depending on optimization. If you want that native 4K 60 FPS with ray tracing that they're talking about, you're probably looking at high-end hardware, RTX 4080-4090 territory or AMD equivalent. Third, there's an AMD promotion running right now. If you buy certain AMD CPUs, like the Ryzen 9 9800X3D or 9950X3D, or GPUs like the upcoming RX 9700 XT and 9700 XT, you can get Crimson Desert for free. Promotion runs until April 25th or until codes run out. So if you're planning to upgrade your PC anyway, that's something to consider. The game has officially gone gold, which means the core build is finished and sent off for manufacturing. That's generally a good sign. But Pearl Abyss has also been very clear that they're still in the optimization phase. Will Powers said in a recent interview, "We have gone gold, now comes further optimization to make the game run as good as it possibly can." So what does that mean?
It means there's going to be a day one patch, probably a big one, and that patch is going to matter a lot for performance. So if you're the type of person who wants the cleanest, smoothest experience possible, waiting a week or two after launch might actually save you a lot of frustration. Let other people be the beta testers. Let's talk about what this is actually going to cost you. Standard Edition, $69.99, just the base game. Everyone who pre-orders gets the exclusive Khaled shield as a bonus. PS5 players also get an additional exclusive armor set called the Groot Vant Plate Set. Digital Deluxe Edition, $79.99, includes the base game plus Kairos Plate Armor Set, full set, helm, gloves, boots, cloak, armor, Balgren Shield, Exclair Horse Tack Set. Physical Deluxe Edition, $89.99. Everything from the Digital Deluxe plus physical goodies, limited steelbook case, map of Pywel, a letter from the developer, Greymane brooch pin, 3 character photo cards, and 3 patches. Collector's Edition, $279.99. Everything from the previous editions, plus additional exclusive weapons and other collectibles. Availability may vary by region. So, yeah, standard AAA pricing, nothing crazy, but also not cheap. Here's my honest take after looking at everything we know. Crimson Desert looks incredible, like genuinely stunning. But it also looks like one of those games where the community might be building up expectations that are literally impossible to meet. People are expecting flawless 60 FPS everywhere, perfect combat balance, deep branching narrative choices, no bugs, a world that's Skyrim plus Witcher 3 plus Dragon's Dogma plus Red Dead Redemption 2 all in one package. And that's exactly how you set yourself up to hate a game that might actually be really good. So here's how I'm managing my expectations. Expect a visually stunning game, but not perfect performance everywhere.
Especially at launch, especially on certain platforms. Expect some absolutely insane moments, but also some repetition. Every open-world game has repetition. That's just the nature of the genre. Expect the combat to be fun and flashy, but possibly chaotic at times. It might not be as tight and readable as you want it to be in every situation. Expect day one patch fixes and maybe even post-launch tuning. This is a massive, ambitious game. It's not going to be perfect on day one. If you go in expecting a miracle, you're going to be mad. If you go in expecting a strong but imperfect game with rough edges that will probably get smoothed out over time, you'll probably enjoy it way more. Look, Crimson Desert has the potential to be something really special. It could be one of those games we look back on as a landmark title, but it could also be one of those games that's amazing in concept and messy in execution. We won't know until March 19th. My advice? Don't pre-order unless you're 100% sold and okay with potential launch issues. Wait for reviews. Wait for real performance analysis. Wait to see what people are actually saying once they've played the full game. Because hype is fun, but hype doesn't tell you if the game actually runs well on your system. It's kanelogic. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want more honest breakdowns like this, and I'll catch you in the next one.